Hi, today we'll be discussing the 2011 movie titled In Time, directed by Andrew Niccol. The movie is about the system of the world in which citizens in some countries had long years to live, while in other countries, from the age of 25, they barely have a year left. So watch out, but spoilers ahead. Wills woke up from bed and saw his time was far spent. He has just 23 hours more to live. He looked out through the window and thought about his activity for the day. They're genetically engineered to live for 1 year after they're 25 years old, and time was the currency. They earn it and spend it. Those who are rich had more time and can live forever, while those that are poor, they die. He went to greet his mother and wished her a happy 50th birthday, thereby turning her around, and he presented her an expensive wine as a gift, but they were both nervous. She showed him that she doesn't have much time left, but he promised to meet her at a bus stop and give her more. Before leaving home, she gave him 30 minutes out of her time so he could eat a decent meal, and the transfer was done by putting her arms against each other. At the workplace, he worked earnestly, but while being paid, he was given a minute amount of money, and he complained, but nothing was done. A few hours later, he went to meet his friend Borrell, who was drunk at a club, and Borrell showed him a man that had a century time and was buying drinks for everyone. Will went to meet the man and warned him that he should run away. If not, he would be killed, but while talking, the Minuteman entered with a man known as Fortes as the leader. Everyone ran away, but Will stayed behind and hid to listen to their conversation. Fortes told the man that he would fight for the time he had on his hands, but the man felt nauseous and ran to use the toilet. Then Will knocked out the guard watching over the man, but Fortes caught them while running. He screamed angrily at his gang that they should chase them. But luckily, Will outsmarted them in the long run, thereby escaping from their sight. While sitting on a chair in the empty building, the man looked gloomily and then told Will that his name is Henry and he has lived for 105 years. Having lived for long, he wishes to kill himself. But Will scolded him and told him that if he was the one that had such time, he would use it wisely. At dawn, while Will was asleep, Henry secretly transferred most of his time to Will and left him just 5 minutes. A few minutes later, Will woke up alarmed, but it was late. He saw the time man had transferred to him and noticed that he was about to time himself out on a bridge. He ran to the spot, but unfortunately, Henry had died before he could get there. Will ran to meet Borrell and showed him the time. He transferred a decade to him before going over to meet his mother, who paid all of her bills and was left with 1 hour and 30 seconds. She wanted to a bus, but her time wasn't enough. She begged the driver to carry her, but he refused. Then she had to run a distance of 2 hours. While running, she felt very nervous but continued running while Will waited happily for his mother to get down from the bus. And seeing she wasn't part of the people that alighted from the bus, he got scared, threw his rose away and ran at a high speed to catch up with her. But unfortunately, she timed out before their hands touched each other, and he cried out in pain as he held his dead mother in his arms. Henry's body was removed by the timekeepers the next morning, but their major concern was the person who had taken the time off of him. As they went ahead to track the person down, Will drove off away from his country and finally went to the land of the rich, Greenwich country, to start a new life. He stepped down from the car looking lost, and Sylvia couldn't stop staring at him because she sensed that he had just left the in-time country. Later on, he went to a casino to gamble, and he happened to meet Sylvia's father, Philippe. While playing, Sylvia came over and Will bet all of his time on the game, but smartly he won the game. She then invited him over to her dad's party. At the party, Philippe introduced him to his family, but he and Sylvia couldn't stop exchanging glances at each other, and they went to the dance floor as her dad kept watching her movement. Having danced for a while, Will grabbed her hand and took her out of the building to a pool. He pulled off his clothes and encouraged her to come along. They felt attracted to each other, but soon enough, Philippe came out and Sylvia hurried back to go and meet her father. While the party was ongoing, the timekeepers came over and arrested Will. They took most of the time he had, but he went ahead and created chaos in the party, thereby capturing Sylvia and running off with her. But at the point, he stopped and begged her to lend him an hour, but she refused and he kept driving back to his hometown. And unfortunately, they stepped on a sharp object that was set as a trap for them, which made them to have a fatal accident and they become unconscious. Fortes and his gang came over. They saw Sylvia's time and stole it. They had almost timed her out but ran away as they saw the timekeeper approaching. A few seconds later, Sylvia and Will woke up. Seeing that she had limited time on her, she was very scared. So they both ran to Borrell's house in the hope to get some time from him. But sadly, his wife told them in tears that Borrell had drunk himself to death. Sylvia got very nervous and scared, but Will looked at their ears, and they ran to a pawn shop exchanging her diamond earring for 2 days. They shared it among themselves before going to his house. But on their way, he called the timekeeper, and told him to transfer the 1,000 time that he owed to the people, and then got Sylvia to change it to one of his mother's dresses while at home, and they began chatting. Sylvia asked about his parent, and he said they were late, but he told her about how great of a man he was. His father was a great fighter and had won a lot of time and helped the people, giving them a chance to live. He demonstrated how his father had always won. His father would make the other opponent take almost all of his time and leave with a few seconds, and he would snappily turn over and take all of theirs. Having chatted for a while, they decided to rest for the day. At dawn, Will looked out through the window and checked if the 1,000 times were shared among the people, but nothing of such was done. Instead, the door was locked so people can't even get more time. He felt bittered, then took Sylvia to the street, gave her a gun, and told her to go call her father so she can be picked out, but Sylvia didn't want to leave him alone with all the troubles. He persuaded her and she left. She called her father, who told her that she could hold on. Their location has been tracked and the police would be there to help her out. On turning back, she saw Raymond pointing a gun at Will's head and quickly shot him, making him fall to the floor, and she and Will escaped. They can't do much being in a police car, so Will stopped another car and robbed them of their time, jewelry, and car. The both of them then take off. The next day, Will spoke of helping the people, and Sylvia offered to assist him, and they acted crazily. They used a big truck to break your father's money bank, packed a lot of time, and the people rejoiced as they were allowed to pack as much time they wanted. Will went about giving people more time, thereby giving them hope and a chance to live. But Raymond got queried at the workplace, and he became worried because a lot of time was circulating everywhere. So he tracked them down and went to their house, while Will and Sylvia were busy making out. But luckily, Will felt something was amiss, so he checked the window and the both of them ran away, but Raymond didn't relent. He kept chasing them. The next day, Will and Sylvia went to another country and rented a full hotel, but a man had seen their faces, and unfortunately, Fortis captured this man, and he revealed where they were hiding to the gang. Making out in the hotel room, Fortis and his gang barged in and held them at gunpoint that they had to surrender. But Fortis said he would give Will the chance of fighting with him, and Will employed his father's strategy. He made Fortis take most of his time, and suddenly turned over at him, then swiftly killed his gang with a gun in his hands. A few seconds later, Fortis died and he ran away with Sylvia. Noticing that the police didn't give up, Sylvia went to her father holding a gun in hand, and pretended to surrender when Philippe let his guards down. Will immediately pointed a gun at his hand and they robbed him. They found a time worth 1,000,000 years and stole it from him. But once again, Raymond chased after them and they kept shooting at them while passing, and the car broke down at a point, but luckily they ran away in the moving crowd. Raymond kept chasing them and he caught both of time. He wanted to arrest them, but then he remembered he hasn't collected his pay and checked his time. He saw he had just 5 seconds left, which ticked slowly, and he timed out. But Wills and Sylvia weren't left out. They were very nervous because they had a few seconds left on them. And suddenly, Will remembered that Raymond could get time from his car, so they ran as speedily as they could to the car, holding on to their last breaths. Will successfully got the time, and luckily, Sylvia hasn't timed out before he grabbed her hands and passed some to her. Seeing that they had both escaped death, they hugged each other happily while breathing heavily and kissed each other. Due to the circulation of time, citizens happily left their country and went to Greenwich to start a new life. Watching how the police called them fugitives, Will and Sylvia cocked their gun and stepped down out of the car, ready to break into a bigger bank time zone. The end. Hope you enjoyed the recap. Kindly stay tuned to this channel for more interesting movie recap.